Hello. I hope you enjoyed your dinner. So my assigned task at this point was to come up here and make a second ask to urge you one more time to text a pledge of support. And my big line was going to be, many of you are here as guests of our generous corporate sponsors, so I'm looking at you. Please make a text pledge of support. But in fact, the results and the support has been overwhelming. So instead, I am here to thank you. We're tremendously excited by your support, and I really can't thank you all enough. If you have a table with 100% support, raise your hands, we'll acknowledge you, or we can just do it anonymously. And if you haven't pledged yet, I'd like to point out you don't have to give the amount. You can just send a message without a dollar amount, that's fine. So it's my pleasure now, and I'm tremendously excited, in fact, to introduce Jeff Zucker, president of CNN Worldwide. Zucker has led CNN since 2013. He oversees all of its businesses, including the CNN U.S. television network, CNN International, HLN, all of CNN's digital properties, and Great Big Story. Zucker has had one of the most storied careers in media. He took over the Today Show at the age of 26 and went on to a 25-year career at NBC Universal, leading the NBC Broadcast Network, its news division, all of its cable properties, Universal Pictures, and Universal theme parks. Zucker also co-founded the online streaming service Sulu. So among the hits that Jeff greenlit at NBC was The Apprentice, starring you-know-who. And on that, I'm going to let him take it from here. So on that note, I give you Jeff Zucker.
Thank you for that very kind introduction. And thank you for inviting me to sing here tonight, too. That was unbelievably impressive, James. It is an honor to be here with all of you tonight, so many respected colleagues, and to also represent the more than 3,500 CNN journalists, 400 of whom are overseas tonight. As we know, tonight's theme is Courage on the Line, and we are all here to recognize the extraordinary achievements and the tremendous sacrifices of colleagues who have dedicated themselves to cover and uncover some of the most important stories of the past year from all over the globe. Places like Iraq, Afghanistan, Venezuela, North Korea, Colombia, Ukraine, the Philippines, and so many others. And as you also know, tonight's President's Award pays tribute to journalists who have lost their lives covering the devastating conflict in Syria. And tonight we also recognize more than 80 journalists who sit in Turkish jails. We honor and support our colleagues at a time when journalists are under fire, literally and figuratively, around the world like never before. Here at home, as we all know, journalism itself is being threatened too, by officials at the top of our own government. In the face of that, each of us has risen to the challenge by doing what we do best: credible, objective, accurate, fearless reporting and analysis. Because we know that journalism without these attributes is not journalism at all. At its best, it is an echo chamber, and at its worst, propaganda. Around this room, we have faced down a lot of rhetoric and bluster and, frankly, diversion about the important work that we do. We need to remind both our lawmakers and our citizens that our democracy does not just ensure a free press, and freedom of speech. It demands it, and it depends upon it. I am particularly proud of the work that CNN has done in recent months in this area. I often quote my friend Tim Russert, who said that the responsibility of journalism is the accountability of government. And in that vein, today at CNN, for instance, we have more investigative reporters than ever before, making sure that we are indeed holding those in power responsible. We have shown that we will not back down and we won't give up, whether it's at a White House press briefing or a groundbreaking investigative report. And similarly, we see this same sense of resolve and purpose across the newsrooms of our friends and competitors. And it is this collective dedication to the principles of good journalism that is reflected in all of tonight's honorees. We are not, by the way, immune to or to be excused from criticism, nor should we shrink from it. I understand the notion that the lines between news and entertainment have blurred for some. I've worked in both arenas, and in some ways there is some truth to it. In order to break through an increasingly crowded media marketplace, journalism has been forced to find audiences where, how, and in a manner in which they want to see our work. Now, our work doesn't just land on someone's lawn every morning or come in the mail every week or appear at a set time every evening as everyone gathers for dinner. Frankly, it's reassuring to us that for millions of Americans, despite the many obituaries that have been written about its premature death, television news remains a primary way that they still receive their news. In fact, for us, cable news happens to be the only genre in television that is actually growing. 2016 was the most watched year in the history of cable news, and 2017 is poised to be even bigger. All of that while some of our best print cousins are reporting huge gains in subscribers. With that said, it remains imperative that we continue to find ways to tell these important stories in ways that keep them relevant to our audiences. I am sometimes asked, in the wake of the 2016 election coverage, did we sacrifice journalism for ratings? The implication is that you cannot have both. I fundamentally disagree with the premise. Good stories told by great journalists, backed by the resources of a global news organization with the power and reach to set an international news agenda, will find an audience, and it can be great journalism too. Good ratings and good journalism need not be mutually exclusive. At CNN, it is an honor to lead a company that employs so many talented, hardworking journalists, serves no ideology or particular political interest, and is charged with resources and a mandate that is global in scale and scope. While the numbers prove that the new administration has been good for the news business overall, and yes, we are a business, what is most gratifying to me about that success is that it reaffirms the growing value of truly real news to our viewers and to society. The other trope about the media is that we are elitist and arrogant and have grown out of touch with the real people we cover. The reality is that in this age, it has never been easier for more individuals to have a voice, more instantaneously than ever before. We welcome and embrace that too, because it also reflects the core values of freedom of speech that all of tonight's honorees have fought so fiercely on behalf of. The landscape is shifting, but at no time in our country's history have all of us in this room had a greater collective mission. There are more and more places in the world where many news organizations have stopped going because of the inherent dangers. There are repressive governments around the world targeting journalists and social media platforms allowing violent non-state actors to put out misinformation, putting the onus on us to put more boots on the ground to do credible reporting for our audiences. Covering the world has never been more dangerous, more complex, and more important. For instance, right now, CNN continues to be unable to gain access to Venezuela to cover the unrest there, because that country's authoritarian government is unhappy with our investigative reporting that uncovered corruption by that same government. Meanwhile, our correspondent this week is the only Western television reporter currently inside North Korea, providing important coverage of that critical story as news there unfolds on a daily basis. Like many of you, we have difficult decisions that we face every single day, and none greater than the safety of our people in some of the most dangerous places on earth. In the past 12 months alone, CNN has reported from Mosul, Iraq, Syria, northeastern Nigeria, and Libya. Beyond the bombs and bullets, we also face threats in places much more routine, and that is what we all face. It is always amazing to me that the very people who are confronted with danger on the ground are the ones who most want to continue to tell the stories of the people who cannot tell the stories themselves. And the admiration I have for the bravery these journalists display every day is tremendous. One of those is CNN's Clarissa Ward, who the Overseas Press Club is honoring here tonight for her series Undercover in Syria. Since the beginning of the civil war in Syria in 2011, Clarissa has reported from the war-torn country more than a dozen times. We're incredibly fortunate to have her at CNN. I am awed at her bravery, her unwavering commitment to truth and storytelling, and an exceptional possession of, quite literally, grace under fire. Clarissa, congratulations. Closer to home, we face other challenges. At CNN, we are part of a years-long effort with members of Congress and other media organizations to pass a federal reporter's shield law like so many states already have, and I urge Congress to do so. In addition, CNN has also advocated for a federal anti-SLAPP law, similar to those in California and just recently passed in Georgia. These laws have been a successful tool in obtaining the early dismissal of lawsuits designed to intimidate coverage of important issues. We believe that both of these measures are critical to ensuring a free and independent media. And like many of you in this room, we intend to be extremely active and vigilant in ensuring that these principles are protected and strengthened. Finally, let me add that 2 days from now, the new administration will mark its 100th day in office. As we observe that milestone, let's emphasize how vitally important it is that when the United States Secretary of State travels overseas, he reinstates the practice of allowing American reporters to travel with him, not as a matter of tradition, but as a recognition of freedom of the press as a cornerstone of American democracy. As I noted earlier, it is hard enough to cover the rest of the world. America's top diplomat should not be making it more difficult for us. Events like tonight honor the best of us and reaffirm the importance of the work that we all do as journalists. There has never been a more important time to tell the world's most important stories, and I am extremely proud to be here among you, supporting the Overseas Press Club and recognizing these extraordinary honorees. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jeff. That was tremendous. We're all on board with you, and